Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Silent Night. It's a movie starring Joel Kinnaman. You might remember him from Sympathy for the Devil, or more likely, you probably remember him from Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad as Colonel Flagg, and you also, hopefully, remember him from the best season of Altered Carbon. Anywho, so the premise of this movie is Joel Kinnaman's character gets shot in the throat, and so he loses his voice box, can't talk, and the interesting way in which they execute this is that no one else does either. So how they frame all of the scenes and everything taking place in them, they do it in such a way that you don't need to hear anyone talk. I would say there's maybe three-ish instances where you probably could have had somebody talking, or it would have made more sense to have somebody talking, or somebody sort of talked, but they like super janked down the volume or like wobbled it, you know? But for the most part, I think that this movie works well without the talking. So I think that it was an interesting way of implementing that. So a few years ago, there was a Alexander Skarsgård, so the Eric from True Blood, he did a movie called Mute, where his character couldn't talk because of some, birth defect or something, but everybody else could, just not him. In this one, nobody talks because of just how they shot it and everything else. Like, it's not that nobody has the ability to, it's just that everything that's shown on screen, again, they just tone it down so you can't hear. And it's written or directed by John Woo, and if you don't know, John Woo knows how to do an action movie. So what we learn relatively quickly is that, and so like spoilers for the first, 5-7 minutes, that Joel Kinnaman's kid gets shot by by a stray gang bullet. So Joel Kinnaman's character then decides to he's gonna go on a revenge spree, but first he's just an everyman who's like just an irregular ass electrician. So he has to figure out how to fire guns, how to use knives, how to drive like a badass, and also get refit because he got shot in the throat, so he needs to do some physical therapy and get better. And yeah, so if you like a good revenge flick with, if you've seen The Raid Redemption, how they were going up those different levels and just constantly having to take out bad guys, I'm not saying this is The Raid Redemption level, but there are a fair number of fight scenes, especially toward the last third of the movie, and it's really, really good fight scenes. I appreciated it. They're not necessarily as super long takes as John Wick, but the cuts are unobtrusive enough that it felt definitely very, very continuous, and it was very fun to see the fights as they progressed. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought that even without the talking, you got what the characters needed from each other, and it wasn't too awkward. I think that, again, maybe a little bit more work, but I'm not sure what could have really been done to make a couple of the scenes work better without talking than they already did. So just some limitations of the format of hey, we're not gonna have any talking. There was probably, I think, 4 lines of dialogue that were just super toned down of it's okay, it's that type of thing. But aside from that, no verbal from the characters. But there's music that goes on, and some of the times the music has a singer, and then there is a couple of news broadcastings over a radio or whatever where those people are verbalizing. Mostly so you don't have to have the title screen where it's January, March. It just, they have a newsreel going of oh, and today's date is blah, 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 and weather's looking good for blah, 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 that kind of thing. But none of the actual characters that are on screen talk. And I think that's a really interesting format, and I think it works for this movie. So overall, definitely a thumbs up. I think it's worth it. Especially if you like action movies. If you don't like action movies, then perhaps this format won't keep your attention. But the music, because, it would be really weird if there was just no music throughout this movie. But there is music pretty much the whole time, and so it definitely, they are the correct music choices throughout, and none of them are well, that's weird or overly distracting. It's not Avatar, it's not Lord of the Rings. You're not going to go home and start humming the songs or be oh, it's such an earworm, it sounds so great. But all of the music does add to the individual scenes. So that's good. So 2 thumbs up, definitely give it a shot. Couple little spoiler things here. So if you are, say, a cop and you know there's a building full of gangsters that have been killing a bunch of people, and you know this, are you going to go into that building to try to take them out or to investigate gunfire without wearing any sort of bulletproof vest? No? Thank you, because that wouldn't make any fucking sense. The other thing is that if you are going to go murder a bunch of fucking gangsters and one of them happens to be female and you don't shoot the female gangster who is firing at you, I mean, you're just being sexist at that point, and you deserve exactly what happens to you. So I have no sympathy for what happens to the people that happens to, because y'all fucking deserved it for being sexist. Okay? But minor rant over. Overall, good movie. Enjoyed it. Give it a shot. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.